This is the deadliest battle in human history, with casualties exceeding a staggering 3.5 million people. Legend has it that during the heat of the conflict, no one could survive for more than 24 hours, as a soldier fell every 9 seconds. In this theater of war, there is no room for tears. There is only the desperate struggle to fire your last bullet and hope to survive on pure luck alone. For a common private, surviving a single day could get you promoted to company commander. 2 days made you a battalion commander, and if you lasted 3, you'd be leading a regiment of 1,000 men. When people speak of this legendary clash, many instantly think of the movie Stalingrad, which hit the big screen back in 2013. It holds the title of Russia's first ever feature film shot entirely in 3D, boasting a massive production budget of $30 million, which was an absolute blockbuster scale at the time. Director Fedor Bondarchuk aimed to use top-tier Hollywood technology to recount a deeply etched memory of the Russian nation. Upon its release, the film's reputation was polarized, with some praising its breathtaking visual effects and claiming the explosive scenes rivaled those of disaster epics, while others criticized the plot for being thin and the romantic subplots for feeling a bit out of place. Regardless of the debate, it stands as a modernized and international cinematic retelling of the Great Patriotic War from a Russian perspective. Today, we're pushing the controversy aside to dive deep into this war-torn city and witness exactly what went down on this hellish battlefield. The story kicks off in the autumn of 1942, during the most brutal phase of the Battle of Stalingrad. Countless Red Army troops are gathered on the eastern bank of the Volga River with only one mission: to cross this river of death and tear a hole in the German-occupied urban areas on the western bank. German bombers and artillery fire never cease their rain of fire on the water's surface, making every attempt to cross a high-stakes gamble with life and death. In the historical defense of Stalingrad, the Soviet army relied on this constant, relentless flow of troops, regardless of the cost, to eventually grind down the elite German 6th Army. On the transport boats, veterans and green recruits are packed together, their faces etched with nothing but exhaustion and numbness. In the distance, the city is engulfed in flames, with the firelight dyeing both the sky and the river a deep, blood-red hue. Watching this apocalyptic scene, an old veteran can't help but cross himself, whispering a prayer for God's protection. A young soldier standing nearby sneers and remarks that everyone on this boat is basically an apostle. The veteran glares at him, barking that he's an arrogant brat who doesn't know his place. The young man explains that the engineers intentionally let the boat sink a bit lower in the water, just so they can avoid detection from German reconnaissance planes overhead. This isn't a movie, but history that actually happened. Every soldier who stepped onto this soil fought with everything they had, though they had no idea at the time that they were part of the bloodiest and most brutal conflict ever recorded. The turning point of this entire battle often hinges on the capture or loss of a single building or a lone street. A newly landed Soviet squad, led by an officer named Gromov, prepares to execute a high-stakes mission. Their target is a German fuel depot located deep behind enemy lines. In the world of urban combat, the importance of fuel simply goes without saying. They quietly infiltrate a derelict building that the Germans have repurposed into a temporary stronghold. Gromov calmly lays out the plan, saying they'll slip in, and it'll be like a coin toss with only 2 possibilities. Heads, they find the detonator. Tails, they find the detonator anyway, and then unalive everyone before cutting the wires. His words are short, sharp, and lethal, radiating the cool composure and decisiveness of a seasoned veteran. Meanwhile, at the German headquarters, Captain Khan is taking a verbal beating from a colonel for losing his forward positions. The colonel reminds him that the German creed is to execute orders at any cost, which is exactly how they managed to push all the way to the banks of the Volga. He barks an order for Khan to retake that Soviet-occupied house before the sun comes up tomorrow. The Soviet squad creeps into the building. Meanwhile, the German soldiers are cleaning their weapons and washing up, caught completely off guard. With a single command from Gromov, grenades go flying through the windows. In an instant, the building erupts in gunfire as bullets fly through the cramped spaces, leaving a scene of total carnage. This is a textbook Stalingrad-style battle. There are no clear front lines and no safe rear areas. As every building is a fortress, and every encounter is a do-or-die struggle of close-quarters combat. One Soviet soldier charges into the storage room and locates the explosive device, but before he can disarm it, he's tackled by a German soldier who charges at him. After a desperate and bloody struggle, the German soldier unalives the Soviet soldier, but is heavily wounded himself in the process. On the other side, Captain Khan arrives only to find the fuel depot already detonated, the soaring flames lighting up his face of despair and signaling the success of the Soviet raid. The massive explosion turns the entire Volga crossing into a sea of fire, as countless Soviet soldiers and their boats are swallowed by the inferno while trying to cross. This is the reality of war. A tactical victory often comes at the cost of countless lives being snuffed out. Though Gromov's squad completed their mission, they paid a heavy price, and now find themselves trapped in this isolated building by the raging fires. While clearing the battlefield, Gromov and his men make a shocking discovery within this tomb-like structure. They rescue a young girl who was being held by the Germans. The girl's name is Katya, and she is the sole survivor left in this building. The reason she never left is simple. This place is her home. Her sudden appearance brings a tiny flicker of humanity to these men who have known nothing but slaughter and death. Soon, the building acts like a magnet, drawing in all the scattered Soviet soldiers from the surrounding area, including sailors, factory militia, and a few sappers. Just like that, Gromov assembles a group of 5 men from completely different backgrounds. They consist of the steady veteran Polyakov, the tight-lipped sniper Chvanov, a former operatic tenor named Nikiforov, and the young, shy artillery observer Astakov. These 5 men, along with Commander Gromov and the girl Katya, form a makeshift family of sorts. In the days to follow, they will stand together to defend this fortress, which would later be immortalized as Gromov's house. This is actually a tribute to the real-life Pavlov's house, where a squad led by Sergeant Pavlov, with the help of dozens of civilians, held out for 2 months to become an undying symbol of Stalingrad's defiance. Katya becomes the only splash of color in this gray, concrete world. Ignoring the danger, she carries a kettle to fetch water for the soldiers, her bravery and innocence earning the deep respect and pity of these battle-hardened men. When a sailor makes a crude joke about the girl being available for use, his comrades shut him down instantly. In such an extreme environment, any display of respect toward a woman is proof that their humanity hasn't been completely extinguished yet. As the commander, Gromov moves quickly to establish a defense, ordering his men to reinforce their positions while clarifying the chain of command with Krasnov, the head of the newly arrived militia. Inside this building, strict military discipline is the only thing standing between them and certain death. Over in the German camp, Captain Khan develops a strange and intense obsession with a blonde woman named Masha. Masha happens to bear a striking resemblance to his late wife, who passed away from tuberculosis. Khan isn't a pure, one-dimensional monster. He brings Masha food and protects her from the harassment of other soldiers. However, this affection is twisted, as he is merely projecting his longing for his dead wife onto a woman from an occupied nation. This reveals the complex nature of humanity in war. Even an aggressor can have a soft spot deep in his heart, though it can never wash away the blood on his hands. The German forces decide to launch an all-out assault on Gromov's house. To break the Soviet will to resist, they come up with a truly diabolical plan. They round up a group of civilians in the square in front of the building, including a Jewish woman clutching her child. They intend to use the execution of civilians as leverage to force the Soviet soldiers inside to surrender. A German officer publicly humiliates the Jewish woman, trying his best to strip away her dignity. From behind the windows, the Soviet warriors watch the scene unfold, their hearts twisted with agony. One soldier can't help but mutter that he can't fire on women and children, but Gromov replies with a cold, hard truth. Are you going to let them fire on us? He knows that once the shooting starts, the civilians in the square will inevitably be caught in the crossfire, but if they don't fire, they will all die anyway. A German soldier ignites a flamethrower and aims it directly at the Jewish woman. At the critical moment, the sniper Chvanov takes a decisive shot from above, taking out the soldier with the flamethrower. Battle erupts instantly as the Soviet soldiers roar and charge out of the building, engaging the Germans in a desperate bayonet fight. The square is filled with screams as civilians scatter in every direction, while fresh blood stains the ground. This battle has moved beyond a mere military confrontation, evolving into a bloody struggle to defend the very baseline of humanity. Soviet warriors fight with bayonets, entrenching tools, and even their teeth, with every fallen figure serving as a silent indictment of fascist brutality. Following the intense clash, squad member Nikiforov is heavily wounded while clearing the battlefield, and Katya steps in to bandage his wounds. Through their exchange, we learn about Nikiforov's past life. It turns out this soldier, who is so decisive and lethal in combat, was actually a famous operatic tenor before the war, and Katya and her mother were even among his loyal fans. War is a meat grinder of this caliber, capable of turning artists into butchers and poets into warriors. Katya asks Nikiforov to sing for her, a simple request that feels like an impossible luxury at this moment. Nikiforov was once a reckless youth who was frequently in and out of police stations, but thanks to his extraordinary musical talent, he is eventually sent to the Moscow Conservatory for Advanced Studies and becomes the star of his hometown. Once the war broke out, he resolutely joined the army and endured the brutal agony of being captured and tortured, experiences that hardened him into a silent and steely warrior. His internal softness only ever resurfaces when he is facing Katya. Another veteran, Polyakov, also opens his heart to Katya on a quiet night. He tells her about his wife and daughter who are far away. His wife was 26 years his junior, and they once shared a happy life together. But both his wife and daughter were unalived during the 1941 bombing of Moscow, while trying to save a mother and son they didn't even know. This rugged-looking old soldier carries a massive sorrow deep within his heart, and he sees Katya as his own daughter, seeking a bit of comfort through her presence. He tells her she is a good, kind girl, and that she has nothing to fear. That simple sentence is the warmest promise he is capable of giving. Katya asks the sniper Chvanov to teach her how to fire a rifle, as she wants to do her part in defending her home. Chvanov brings her to the sniper nest and instructs her on how to properly aim. Through the scope, they spot a German soldier fetching water. The gun fires, and the German soldier drops where he stands. It is the first time Katya has unalived someone, yet Chvanov praises her, saying she did a great job. Gromov witnesses this and angrily demands to know what Chvanov thinks he's doing, pointing out that he just killed a soldier who was merely fetching water. He remarks that even wild animals know not to hunt one another at a watering hole. Chvanov fires back with intense emotion, arguing that the man is a fascist, not a soldier. He claims he doesn't care if the man is drinking water or taking a dump. He will unalive them every single time he sees them. He reveals that they unalived his 7-year-old brother just because his name contained the word Lenin, and asks if that is what soldiers do. It turns out Chvanov's family also met a tragic end at the hands of the Germans. His sister was insulted, and his mother was left with a severed arm after being wounded. He has channeled his bone-deep hatred into the bullets in his magazine. Gromov is left with no response, understanding that in the face of such a blood feud, any lecture on the rules of engagement feels hollow. This is Stalingrad, a place that pushes both hatred and the rules of survival to the absolute limit. The German colonel puts the pressure on Khan once again over his failure to occupy the building, even using humiliating language to provoke him, forcing him to round up several Soviet women to do laundry just to vent his anger. Within the German army, this high-pressure and inhumane management style similarly twists the mind of every soldier. Gromov decides it is time to move Katya to the rear. He realizes that Katya's presence has shifted the mindset of his men, as they are no longer just fighting for their country, but are now fighting to protect this girl, which could make them vulnerable. But Katya refuses to leave, producing her ID to prove she is 19 years old and can be officially enlisted. Coincidentally, today happens to be her birthday. The Germans have set up a new artillery position on the opposite bank, constantly pounding the transport lines on the river. Astakov decides to use a captured anti-tank gun in the building to neutralize it, but the angle isn't right for a direct shot. Astakov comes up with a brilliant solution. He'll use the ceiling to pull off a ricochet shot, effectively creating a curved trajectory. This is an incredibly bold and dangerous plan, as the slightest mistake could result in blowing up his own teammates. Amidst the skepticism of his fellow soldiers, Astakov calmly crunches the numbers for the angle. He was a top student at the artillery school, and during the defense of Moscow, his entire company was wiped out, leaving him as the sole survivor. Those who mocked him as a useless failure had no idea that this young man had already looked the truest face of war in the eye: fire. At the command, the shell exits the barrel, tracing a strange and eerie arc through the air. Everyone holds their breath in anticipation. A few seconds later, a flash of fire erupts on the far bank as the German artillery position is successfully taken out. The soldiers erupt into a thunderous cheer as Astakov earns the respect of everyone through his professional skill and bravery. Katya's birthday becomes the warmest day inside this house of death. The warriors do everything in their power to celebrate for her. The injured Nikiforov wants to go out and find a gift for her, while the others locate an abandoned bathtub and miraculously manage to heat up some water. They intend to give her a hot bath as the most precious birthday gift imaginable. Everyone gathers to share their meager rations, and Krasnov pulls a bar of soap out like a magic trick for Katya to smell, a luxury that only belonged to the days of peace. They light candles for Katya and sing her a birthday song. In this moment, they aren't soldiers, but a group of older brothers celebrating their little sister's birthday. Nikiforov sits at a battered piano and begins to sing E lucevan le stelle from Puccini's opera Tosca. His resounding yet mournful voice echoes over the ruins, speaking of a deep yearning for love and life. The song mesmerizes everyone and sends the German officer Khan spiraling into painful memories of his late wife. While Katya enjoys her long-awaited hot bath, the men instinctively retreat downstairs to guard her like guardian angels. They smoke, they chat, and they share the secrets of their hearts. The peace and warmth of this moment stand in stark contrast to the endless gunfire outside, making this tenderness feel all the more precious. After the birthday party, Astakov gathers his courage and takes Katya to a secret spot he discovered, an abandoned building. There are neither Soviet nor German troops here, making it feel like a lone island in the middle of a war zone. The roof is in tatters, allowing them to look up at the stars above. Astakov says they will wait here for the panic, the darkness, and the war to finally end. Meanwhile, the German forces assemble their tank units for the final all-out assault on the building. This time, they are determined to take it at any cost. Tank shells relentlessly hammer the building until the structure teeters on the brink of collapse, and the defenders begin to fall, one by one. Nikiforov is mortally wounded and leans against the piano, telling his comrades that he will see them in heaven. Then, he pulls the pin on a grenade. The former artist completes the final performance of his life in the most tragic way possible. German troops storm into the building, engaging the remaining Soviet soldiers in a final, desperate street fight. Krasnov, Chvanov, and Polyakov fall in battle one after another, leaving Commander Gromov as the only soul left in the entire building. Captain Khan charges up the stairs, screaming for Gromov to come out, while Gromov hides in a corner, using his last bit of strength to repair the radio. He knows they have failed, but he intends to make the enemy pay the heaviest price possible. The two men draw their pistols and shoot each other simultaneously in the stairwell. As the commanders of their respective armies, neither is willing to lose this war. At that moment, Astakov looks at the dying Gromov and tries to move forward to bandage his wounds, but Gromov tells him to transmit their coordinates instead.
This is Kaluga. Give us an airstrike now.
Kaluga, I didn't read you. Those are the coordinates of the building where our men are. Did I read you correctly, Kaluga?
Affirmative. Yes, that's us. We're requesting an airstrike now. The Germans are coming in. They're coming in fast. Give us an airstrike.
I hear you. I hear you, Kaluga. I hear you. Goodbye, boys.
He declares that even if they can't hold the position, they won't let the Germans leave this place alive. In his final moments, Gromov thinks of the other person he has hidden away. He tells Astakov that the person is fine and sends his regards, saying that he loves him deeply. Immediately after, Thousands of shells rain down, and the fire swallows everything in sight. At the end of the film, we finally learn that the narrator of this entire story is a modern-day Russian rescue worker. He is telling this story to a trapped girl during an earthquake rescue operation. And this rescue worker is none other than the son of Katya and Astakov, named Sergei Astakov. It turns out that in the moments before Gromov called for the artillery strike, the hidden person he referred to wasn't Katya, but the child in Katya's womb. Gromov used his own life to preserve this new life. His mother told Sergei that he has 5 fathers: Gromov, Chvanov, Polyakov, Nikiforov, and his biological father, Astakov. He is happy because he carries the resemblance of every single one of them. The smoke of Stalingrad has long since drifted away, but the story of this heroic city and those who gave their lives for the peace we enjoy today will be remembered forever.